Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
This is former Husker and NFL linebacker Jay Foreman. For years, I've suffered from degenerative problems in both of my ankles, but thanks to a thorough and thought-out plan provided by Advanced Medical Imaging, I was able to get my life back with the least amount of pain as possible. While working through multiple options, the team of physicians at Advanced Medical Imaging were there to answer any questions I had. If you're experiencing any pain at all and want to get your life back, go to amimaging.com or give them a call at 402-484-6677. Advanced Medical Imaging, located at 7601 Pioneers Boulevard.
Ready to add a dash of Southern flavor to your week? At Wings and Rings, their brand new Southern fried wings have arrived for a limited time. Indulge in the irresistible goodness of large, traditional bone-in wings coated in a crispy beer batter and fried to perfection. Try them with hot honey or any other sauces. And for those busy summer days coming up, look no further than their Southern Fried Wings Family Bundle. Wings and Rings, 2 Lincoln locations on O Street or Village Lane.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and right now they are offering huge, and I mean huge discounts at Koppel. Get over $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing on select Sierras or Silverados. Plus, Costco members receive another $1,000 off. Yes, that's happening right now in Louisville. $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing. You pick what works for you. Costco members, please contact us at the store or at koppelcars.com. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Start your Sundays off right with Jeff and Nicole Essink on Fitness Fanatics. Jeff and Nicole discuss health and wellness, how to achieve fitness goals, and more through the life of gym owners and gym goers. It's Fitness Fanatics from 9 to 11 a.m. on Sundays on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. Are you or someone you love struggling with substance use? The Bridge Behavioral Health in Lincoln offers outpatient therapy for those 19 and over. The Bridge is conveniently located in the South Haymarket and near city bus lines. With payment options through insurance and a sliding fee scale, services are available for any adult 19 and over seeking help. Call 402-477-3951 to learn more or schedule your appointment today. The Bridge Behavioral Health is a local substance use treatment facility offering hope and a solid foundation for recovery through substance use treatment and behavioral health interventions.
Your child was embarrassed when you arrived at their basketball game. 75% of parents or guardians report current alcohol use. Drinking alcohol can cause harm to children and loved ones. By drinking less, your child will be excited to see you at their basketball game. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
This is the Adam Carricker Show.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, 1st and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carricker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 5-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carricker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carricker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Welcome, everybody, into another edition of the Big Ten Show, the Bleav in the Big Ten Big Ten Show podcast here on the Bleav Podcast Network and 93.7 The Ticket as well. Now, I've got a special guest with us today. Right before I bring him on, I want to give a shout out to Bonzel Pool and Spas. All right, they do a phenomenal job. They do such a phenomenal job. They are in my backyard right now, actually putting in a pool for my very own family. So if you're looking to have a swimming pool, hot tub, and or sauna put in, They are the folks to do it. Check them out at bonzelpool.com. If you have a swimming pool, hot tub, indoor sauna, and you need it taken care of, they are the folks to hit up. You can check them out at bonzelpool.com. Also, the Jacobson Seed Company, they're your healthy hybrid advantage. Check them out at jacobsonseed.com. Farmers, hopefully you not only enjoy what we hope is phenomenal Big Ten content, but also they will take care of all your seed needs. Again, your healthy hybrid advantage, independently owned for like almost 100 years now. All right, doing their own thing, doing a great job. Check them out at jacobsonseed.com. Now, my special guest for today, he's been on in the past. I'm excited to have him back again today, a part of the Bleav in the Michigan podcast, the host of it, Mr. Brandon Brown. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm jealous of the pool situation, but yeah, I'm doing pretty good, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, we're pretty excited. I mentioned this, but you look out our back right now, it's a big, gigantic hole. But once they fill the water in there, we'll be much more excited about it. The kids are like staring out the back, watching them doing the work and everything. So they're all excited. So, all right, man, Michigan. So the question this year is, you lose Harbaugh, you lose McCarthy, you lose the entire offensive line, and then some. You lose all these starters. How good can Michigan be? What can people realistically expect?
Yeah, it's such a big question. I mean, when you go from being at the absolute top 15-0, winning the national title, and then just massive turnover. I mean, almost the whole defensive staff is gone. Ben Herbert, who was a monstrous part of the success, the strength and conditioning coach, followed Jim Harbaugh to Los Angeles with the Chargers. J.J. McCarthy goes in the top 10. You mentioned all the six offensive linemen, actually.
Mm-hmm.
They basically had six starters. All six of them are gone. It's just, now granted, I don't cover other teams, but I don't remember this much turnover from one year to another, especially off the kind of season that Michigan had. It's rare to go 15-0. It's rare to beat everybody and win the whole thing. And then when you do that, and just so many new faces are involved, both off the field, on the field, the roster, the support staff. I mean, a bunch of new people have been hired in the recruiting department. It really is almost a brand new squad. You still expect them to be pretty good. I mean, the defense returns quite a bit, actually. I think you could say that from last year's team, the most important pieces on the defense are back. Kenneth Grant in the middle, Mason Graham in the middle up front, Will Johnson, maybe the best cornerback in the country. So you've got some really, really key pieces on defense. Offense is where all the question marks are. You lose McCarthy, you lose that whole offensive line. You've got guys getting promoted up the ladder as Sharon Moore moves up to head coach. Your quarterback coach becomes your OC, and you're just really kind of waiting to see what happens. And then everybody's curious about the quarterback. It looks and feels like it's going to be Alex Orji, but I don't think that's even a guarantee at this point. But if it is, you expect them to run the ball a ton, which is what they always want to do. And yeah, you've got that schedule, which is a monster this year too. I mean, there's just so many things that are intriguing about the season coming up off of last year, all the new faces, a new head coach, new people all over the place. So I don't even know if I have an answer. I just told you what's going on. I didn't really give you an answer of what's to be expected, but I do think that the season is 5 games. Every year you look at the schedule for the better, quote unquote, better teams, and you're like, okay, it's 2 games, it's 3 games, maybe 4. I think there's 5 losable games for Michigan, and I think they need to go 3-2, and you shoot for 10-2, and you try to make the playoff with the 12-team field and see how you can do that with Sharon Moore in year 1.
So I actually want to go through and kind of talk about everything you just outlined, because that's basically the list of questions that I have here. But that was perfect, because that's what's on everybody's mind, especially Michigan fans. I actually want to go back and talk about something I don't know that's been talked about enough, and that's Ben Herbert, the strength and conditioning coach, the $1 million strength and conditioning coach, the guy that Ben Herbert called basically the backbone of the program. And Michigan was the best team in the country. They well coached, a lot of talent, a lot of ability on that team. Okay, more people drafted from Michigan than I believe any other school in the country. So all due respect to all of that, but they were the most physical team in the country, and they have been for the past 3 years. And they punched specifically Ohio State in the mouth again and again and again. And Ohio State has as much, maybe more, just pure talent, not the better team, obviously, the past 3 years. But that all starts in the weight room. Physicality, being strong, a tough mindset. How big of an impact do you think, him following Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers, how big of an impact will that have for Michigan from a physicality standpoint?
Yeah, I think you're 100% right when you use the term backbone of the program. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, He's always been really good at praising his guys, but I don't think he did it more than he did with Ben Herbert. Daily, every time he had a chance to speak about him, every time he nominated him for assistant coach of the year when he wasn't even eligible. Like, that's how much he thought of the guy, and then
I just love that.
It's awesome. And then he changed his title a little bit. He gave him a little bit more responsibility. He became assistant head coach. I mean, I don't know if that's ever been done before with the strength
Not that I know of.
coach. Yeah, it's just unprecedented, what he thought of him, how he handled him, the responsibility that he gave him. The players absolutely loved him. Those strength and conditioning guys are cut from a different cloth anyway, and he's even another cloth from those guys. Like, he was elite at everything. And him going to the Chargers is a big deal. It looked like he was going to stick around at first, and then he kind of pulled the fast one, and now he's out in LA. So I do think it's a really big deal. As far as remaining physical, you do now have your offensive line coach as your head coach.
Yep.
That helps.
That matters.
He helped them win the Joe Moore Award 2 years in a row, which had never been done. His whole thing is smash. That's like his hashtag, smash, every time he tweets something. So that's not going to change, but it is going to change because there's just so many new pieces and moving parts. And again, Herbert was a huge part of that. Justin Tress has learned and become the new guy. He learned under Ben Herbert for several years, and now he's the head strength and conditioning coach. But I think it's unfair to expect him to be as good as Ben Herbert was and to have that kind of impact, even though he learned from him and is probably going to do things as close to that way as possible. And the players seem to really respect him and respond. But Ben Herbert was one of, if not the best in the country, and there's a reason why he's now in the NFL, and he's going to probably get the same type of results from grown dudes getting paid multi-million dollars to play the game. So I do think it is a really big deal. I think, like I said, having Sharon Moore as the head coach will help the philosophy, and I don't think the mindset's going to change, but it's different when you've got different people doing those jobs. There's no doubt.
And this is just my 2 cents. You know way more about Michigan specifically than I do. My 2 cents is, were they promoted from within, kind of all over the place. I think the physicality mindset is going to be the exact same. I don't think that's going to change. I mean, when you're always hashtagging smash and that's your head coach, the guy leading the program, it tells you what the mindset is. I wonder if they're going to be as good at it just due to all the loss of personnel. Okay, it's hard to replace that many good players. And the guys stepping up, they grew up in it. They were raised in it, so to speak. So they get it. But it's a little bit different when all of a sudden you're the guy in charge as opposed to the guy learning from the guy that was in charge. So I think the mindset will be the same, just my 2 cents. I think it's just going to take a little while to be as good at it. I never really grew up pro-Michigan, anti-Michigan. I didn't really, I wasn't either way. But I love watching Jim Harbaugh coach type teams, which is, I think, what Michigan's going to continue to be for the most part, because they're always physical, smash mouth, physical. We're going to put 84 tight ends on the field. By the way, not like 74 of those tight ends are really going to be offensive linemen. And then we're just going to run the ball at you over and over. And he did it at Stanford. He did it with the Niners. He obviously did it with Michigan. Actually, when he first got to Michigan, he didn't do it enough. And I'm like, what are you doing? Now you got the talent to actually do it. And then he finally did it, and then they won the national title. I actually want to ask you about something you said, because college players aren't necessarily grown men yet. But the way college players are going to be talked about, I think it's going to be different, because now they are making a lot of money, some of them making millions. Do you think that it's fair, to talk about college players a little bit differently? I don't want to say not like rudely or disrespectfully, but a little bit to a bit more accountability being held when you got those zeros at the end of that check you're receiving now. Do you think that's a fair thing to do going forward? Or are these still just kids who are learning, in your opinion?
I'm turning 40 on Sunday. I have a little bit of old school in me.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. I'm turning 40 on Sunday. I've got a little old school in me. I'm from a small little farm town. Like, my dad still just, he yells at the cloud. I kind of got that in me a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've always been okay with criticizing as long as it's constructive and you're not doing it just to do it. And
yes,
I mean, dude, you were in a D1 locker room. You know what goes on in those places and what's said to you guys for motivation by the people you're closest with, your coaches and your position coaches and the strength guys. So I've always been okay with it. And I think you're right. I mean, now that these guys are getting all this money, it probably does go up a level. I mean, it's you can't talk about it and line your stadium with Lamborghinis and not expect a little criticism if it doesn't work out. Like, I just think you gotta be okay with that.
Sure.
I've never been like, when people like, oh, you shouldn't boo. Why not boo? Like, I don't know. These aren't little kids. It's not Pee Wee, it's not Pop Warner. Like, the stuff that gets yelled and screamed at them at times on the practice field is far worse than what fans are saying most of the time.
That's fair.
Sure, you've got some real dinks in the stands that probably should
never,
be there,
ever,
but,
not once.
Right.
Never.
But no, I just, and it's different with everybody. Some players really respond to that. Some it really affects them, and I think that's always been the case. But yeah, the NIL era and these guys making the kind of money that they're making, certainly making more than some position coaches probably, and definitely, the support staff people. It changes the dynamic a little bit. I mean, you see it in the pros. You see the diva thing here and there. I don't know how much that'll show up in college football, but it probably will. I think back to what's the David Justice character in Moneyball, if you're familiar.
Oh, yes. My
My
son loves that movie.
I love that movie too. He gets chewed out for a second, and he's like, "You think you're special?" He's like, "I'm paying me $7 million." Yeah, I am special. Like, I'm sure a kid's gonna say some junk like that at some point,
probably.
And so, if that's what they can say, then I think that the criticism is warranted. And I've always been fine with it anyway. They're big boys, man. There's this big time college football, and there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's done for the right reasons, I think.
That's the perfect example, by the way, is that David Justice example from the movie Moneyball. For me, I was always a little bit more, hey, they're college kids, things of that nature, keep that in mind. Now that they're getting those zeros and, they can go from school to school and you can transfer and you can do all these things. And there's almost, I don't want to say almost no accountability, but you can come and go and do as you please with little to no consequences, which I never liked. That college coaches used to be able to do that. As an example, all heck breaks loose at USC. Pete Carroll goes to the Seahawks. And I know that's one example. But there was no accountability, yet a player was stuck where he was at, because if he transferred, he had to sit out a year. Obviously, that's all changed. I never liked that. Now it's kind of chaos the other way. But to me, the more money you're making, the more fair it is to hold you accountable. I've always said passionate with respect. Don't make it personal. You know what I mean? So, okay. So you talked about JJ McCarthy, all right, a top 10 pick. And, there's so many question marks right now around Alex Orji. If he is the guy, let's say he's not the guy. If he's not the guy, who do you think would be the guy? And where he's so good with his feet, maybe another guy's better throwing the ball through the air. Do you think there could be a 2 quarterback type situation at Michigan or not this fall?
Yeah, that's there. If it's not Alex Orji, and he's not a layup. I mean, we haven't really seen him throw the ball much at all. He's got a big arm, but accuracy has been a little questioned. Spring games, he's let a couple get away from him a little bit. But you mentioned his feet. I mean, the dude he's like 15 pounds heavier than Jalen Milroe. Like, the dude's put together, man. Like, Milroe got talked about his physicality and his running ability. Orji's maybe not as fast, but he's bigger. He's probably a little more physical. And if Sharon Moore is going to just hashtag smash all over the field, then that's a dude who can help you with that. And you're not going to have to worry about, him getting split in half like you did with 185-pound JJ McCarthy for a couple of years. It's a different animal. There's no doubt. If it's not him, there just isn't another guy that seems like an obvious answer. I guess I would maybe lean Jack Tuttle because he's played before. You're talking about is it his 6th year at least? He's had several medical red shirts in the COVID year, and now he's back again. But he started games when he was at Indiana. He's played some football, and he's got a good mix of arm and leg talent. And beyond that, it's a bunch of guys who haven't done anything, and so it's really hard to imagine it being anybody else other than those two guys. But Davis Warren has done some nice things in the past. I really don't think the freshman Jaden Davis is going to be close to ready. He's just not there. And then again, you've got Jaden Denegal, who's never really played. It's got to be Alex Orji in my mind. I just don't. It just feels like that. And if the EA Sports people are on to anything, he's the starter in all the video game previews that's about to come out. So no, but it feels like it's Orji's job to lose again. Being a bigger part of the run game would certainly help the offense in the early weeks. got Texas week 2, so you don't have much time to get the bugs worked out. But if it's not Orji, there just isn't another guy that stands above the pack. It's Jack Tuttle, maybe because of the experience, and then a bunch of other guys who haven't really played. So it feels like it's Alex Orji. If it's not, throw a dart at a dartboard and see who's gonna come out of it in the fall, because I really don't know who that would be.
Ready to upgrade your combine in 2024? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine to fit your operations needs. Choose from 4.75% for up to 60 months or a 12-month interest waiver, followed by John Deere financial rates with approved credit through the end of June. When you purchase a pre-owned S or X combine from Landmark, know you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running. View our current inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Ready to add a dash of Southern flavor to your week? At Wings and Rings, their brand new Southern fried wings have arrived for a limited time. Indulge in the irresistible goodness of large, traditional bone-in wings coated in a crispy beer batter and fried to perfection. Try them with hot honey or any other sauces. And for those busy summer days coming up, look no further than their Southern Fried Wings Family Bundle. Wings and Rings, 2 Lincoln locations on O Street or Village Lane. Join us each Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon for Youth Football 101 with Tank Perry of the Nebraska Red Wolves of 7-on-7 football. The future of the sport depends on the foundation set at a young age. Hear those stories and more each Saturday from 11 a.m. to noon here on 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC. And right now they are offering huge, and I mean huge discounts at Coppell. Get over $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing on select Sierras or Silverados. Plus, Costco members receive another $1,000 off. Yes, that's happening right now in Louisville. $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing. You pick what works for you. Costco members, please contact us at the store or at CoppellCars.com. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
Garage doors can be expensive. Are you keeping yours in the best condition possible? This is Cameron Hall with Doors Plus. Doors Plus is a locally owned business that prides itself on the fast, reliable, and friendly service. Doors Plus offers flexible scheduling so you can book an appointment that fits your busy day. My team and I will come out to your property, both commercial and residential, and provide you with the necessary information you need to make sure your garage door is in working and smooth condition. Give Doors Plus a call today at 402-590-5800 to book an appointment and learn more about our preventative maintenance plans. Doors Plus, garage doors, and more.
Don't wait for Lincoln's fireworks stands to open up. Get the good stuff at Roca Crazy Cracker in downtown Roca. Stop in from June 26th through July 4th for the hot spot for rockets and more this Independence Day. Open 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. Roca Crazy Cracker Fireworks in downtown Roca.
Old School with DP and J.
And Todd Bowles, I'm going to tell you this, DP, his voice does not match his body type.
That's what I'm saying. He's never, I don't know how you can be led by Todd Bowles' voice.
That's a fireable offense anyway.
Like, his facial expression is top-notch. Then his voice. Because it's literally, you're there expecting, it's like Mike Tyson.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC. And right now they are offering huge, and I mean huge discounts at Coppell. Get over $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing on select Sierras or Silverados. Plus, Costco members receive another $1,000 off. Yes, that's happening right now in Louisville. $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing. You pick what works for you. Costco members, please contact us at the store or at CoppellCars.com. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
Hi, everyone. Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here. Summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
The dangers of secondhand smoke are well known. But what about secondhand aerosol, which is created when using e-cigarettes? Science already shows a secondhand aerosol can contain nicotine, heavy metals, and cancer-causing agents. Eliminating exposure to secondhand aerosol is an important step to keeping everyone safe. Breathe easier knowing the facts.
For help quitting, call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you're passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives.
On the Block with Strick and Austin.
There's that pit in my stomach. I hope that knot gets untangled and untied so that the Royals can be in contention for the playoffs come late August into September. I'm not holding my breath for it, but before I freak out and lose my mind about how bad things are right now, I'm going to choose to look back at last year and remember how bad 56 and 106 felt.
Weekdays from 2 to 4 on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com. You're listening to Adam Carricker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jack Tuttle is basically, and I mean this with all due respect, a professional college football player at this point. That's basically what he's become.
Yes.
And hey, if you don't know if you can play at the next level, but you want to keep playing and you can in college football, why the heck not? Especially if you can make a little moolah nowadays. Now, to your point, okay, Alex Orji, 6'3", 236. Think back to, and I'm not saying he's going to be Tim Tebow, but when you think back to like Tim Tebow's physicality as a runner, and half that was his heart, he was about 240. So he's not a whole lot different and probably a little bit faster just from a running standpoint. We'll see how he is when they step foot against Fresno State, which is interesting. You start to look at the schedule. Even the non-power conference games, you start off with Fresno State. I mean, they were undefeated and ranked at one point last year.
That's not a cupcake.
No, it's not a cupcake.
Yeah.
And then you got Texas. I mean, let me ask you this question before we get to Texas. Should Michigan fans, there's obviously going to be a lot of intrigue. Okay, how does this team look? How are things different? How does Orgy look? How's this all going to work together? But they should they legit be concerned at all about Fresno State with all these question marks August 31st when the Bulldogs come into Ann Arbor?
I don't think so. I think the talent gap is still just a little too big. But you said it. I mean, that's a quality football team. That's not, Michigan's not going to be favored by 40. I mean, they'll be favored in that one. It's the home opener. It's the opener of the season. They'll be favored. But I mean, if I had to guess right now, I'd put it at less than 3 scores, I think. And I think it's a, 16, 17 point spread, maybe something like that. So I expect Michigan to win, but that's not an absolute gimme. That's not like the non-conference schedule they had last year. It's much more challenging. It's obviously Texas, but yeah, Fresno is a very good warm-up game, I think, and that might even be a little disrespectful to call it that, because I think they're going to be ready to play. They're going to be looking to make a huge statement coming out of the gate. That's the national title right there. You're in that, you're in their house. And you've got a pretty solid team. I don't know their roster in and out. I don't know, what was their quarterback situation last year compared to this year, things like that, the important parts of the roster. But they were good last year, and they do recruit some talent. The Cali kids that slipped through the cracks a little bit with USC and some of those other schools, they can end up at Fresno and make some plays. So, yeah, I think that is a really good test right out of the gate, and it should be a little more competitive maybe than some of Michigan's early games in the recent years.
I'm actually fairly intrigued by that game, and there's probably a little bit of bias. I was born in Hastings, Nebraska, but when I was 3, my dad's job took us up to the state of Washington. So I grew up in the state of Washington, watching the Pac-10, then the Pac-12, but Boise State, Hawaii back in the day with Colt Brennan, then you had Fresno State with the Carr brothers and all that. So I'm personally a little bit more intrigued by that game as well. All right, man, the second game of the year, Texas comes into Ann Arbor, and obviously, there's so many questions that we don't have answers to right now. And even after the Fresno State, there's going to be a bunch of questions that nobody has answers to in Michigan. And you're going to learn a lot going into that Texas game. This may be the most watched non-conference game of this entire college football season. You got the defending national champs. You got Texas. You got an early season matchup. that's going to be covered nationally and people are going to have national interest. What are your thoughts? Way too early. It's not even July 4th, but we're going to talk about it. Michigan, Texas, what are your thoughts as we sit here in June?
Yeah, I don't even like saying the words, but that's one of the two losses I have on their schedule. I mean, when you've got Sark, he's a wizard, and you've got a quarterback returning that's really, really good, I think, in Quinn Ewers. You do, Texas lost some weapons, and they turn over a roster like a lot of the big programs do, but they're going to be as talented, as fast, as athletic as Michigan, and I think they have the edge at quarterback, and they've got continuity in play calling and offense. And I think Michigan's defense is going to be really good, but that's week 2 of figuring out your new offense with your new quarterback and your new offensive line and your new play caller. And I just think that's a lot to overcome. I mean, I will eat my words gladly if Michigan can somehow come out with a win in that game. But I think early on paper, when you just look at where the two, that's a playoff team from last year coming into your house with the same quarterback and the same offensive staff that put up a lot of points and was very explosive. And Sark, he just has that reputation of, figuring it out on offense and scoring points. Michigan didn't give up a lot of points. I remember all the Michigan haters were like, that Washington game, they haven't seen a quarterback like Penix. They haven't seen it, and they shut him down. New defense, some new guys out there, a new defensive coordinator, but Wink Martindale, there's nothing about football that dude has not seen. And so he'll be ready, and the defense is talented and good, but like I said, that 5-game mini schedule as we continue to go through this, that's one of them. And yeah, June 26th, I'll say Texas wins, but we do have a long way to go still.
Dude, going back to that Washington game, the last time I've seen a quarterback that beat up, Michael Penix was.
Man.
I mean, he looked like somebody took a Louisville Slugger to him in the alleyway, and he was trying to walk home afterwards, walking off the field at the end of that game.
I saw him on the golf cart down on the field, and he looked like a crash test dummy. He was not moving. He was slumped over.
Yep.
The emotions probably had something to do with it, but certainly he needed ice baths in a bad way. There's no doubt.
There's a few games that stand out to me where a quarterback got beat up, so to speak, in big time situations. And I don't know, like, obviously Tom Brady's the GOAT, seven rings and all that, but the 2 losses to the Giants in the Super Bowl, that D-line from the Giants, they won the game. Eli Manning was clutch. Obviously you had the phenomenal catch the first time they beat him, but at the Super Bowl down in Arizona in the desert. But Tom Brady was a little beat up after those. And there's a little bit of bias in this one, going back to the 94 national championship when Nebraska went into Miami, played Miami in the Orange Bowl. Frank Costa. Go back and Google how his jersey looked and how he looked after the game. That's the most beat up I've seen a quarterback, was that 95 Orange Bowl for the 94 national title. Frank Costa, Miami's quarterback, to Michael Penix. Dude, that's like almost 30 years since I'd seen someone that beat up. All right, dude. I will say this for Texas and Michigan. So Texas has some question marks in the secondary, just like they did last year. Last year, they had the D-line, probably the 2 best D tackles in the country. They lose some of these guys off the D-line. And I'm just kind of wondering, I'm going to pick Texas to win, but I'm just kind of wondering if a physical Michigan running attack with a physical running quarterback, and Texas has question marks on their D-line, and then maybe this really good Michigan defense, as we anticipated to be, can keep it close, and Michigan can run the ball, and the crowd can get into it. I'm still going to pick Texas, but you never know what can happen, dude. There's a world where Michigan could pull off this upset. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Oh, I there's no question. By the way, Alex Orji, Texas native. Just throw that out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no question. I mean, I don't see Texas coming in and blowing Michigan out. Michigan, they play a brand of football that makes that hard to do. Like you said, they're going to grind it out. They're going to possess the ball. They're going to run it. They don't turn it over. They don't give up those big splash plays. Usually on either side of the ball, Texas likely won't have a pick six or some weird, like Michigan just doesn't do those things. They didn't do those things. Brand new year, brand new team. Everybody understands that, but that's been their calling card for the better part of 4 or 5 seasons, 3 years in a row to the playoff and beating Ohio State. And the formula has not changed. And as we said a little bit ago, it probably won't. But you've got new guys trying it. You got a brand new O-line. That's the most important part in a game like that, where they're going to want to impose the will. They're going to want to run the ball. Give it to Donovan Edwards. Give it to Khalil Mullings, the big big back and let Alex Orji presumably run the ball as well, and you take your shots where you can. So, yeah, no, I think there's definitely a pathway to Michigan winning the game, but I think I'd feel very different about the game if it was week 7 instead of week 2, where you're working on a new offensive line and a new quarterback and a new lots of stuff. So yeah, again, same as you. As we sit right now, I would pick Texas, but yeah, Michigan's not gonna lay down in that one. I mean, they're gonna be fighting and scrapping and trying to win that thing as much as any game on the schedule, and they're good enough to win it. But somebody's got to lose, and right now I'd say Michigan. Yeah.
That's a great point you made because, as you pointed out, Quinn Ewers coming back. I mean, they don't have a whole lot of question marks on offense. They don't have to figure out a whole lot of things at Texas. Right. Whereas Michigan, second game of the year, brand new quarterback, brand new ton of things. And early on in the year definitely helps and favors Texas. All right, next up on the schedule, Arkansas State. I assume you're going to pick Michigan there. All right, USC. This is like the rematch of so many Rose Bowls. Well, actually, USC and Michigan, but also USC, Ohio State over the years. But all right, USC comes into Ann Arbor. This is a team. USC is intriguing to me this year because they don't want to tackle anybody. I don't even know if they know. Like you can put 11 guys on defense. It's all right to stop somebody at some point, but they score like 1 million points because that's what Lincoln Riley does. But if you watch their spring game this year, you know, the most overanalyzed practice of the year for every college football team, their offense struggled. And their defense, what was it, like 3 or 4 turnovers that they forced. So I'm not saying USC is all of a sudden going to, you know, suck on offense and be a defensive power. I'm just intrigued to see how they look this year because Lincoln Riley has said they are starting from basically square one in year 3 and revamping a lot of things. But as USC comes into Ann Arbor, how do you kind of see, you know, forecast that game at this point?
I think that one is a win for Michigan for the reasons you just. I think Michigan could go the whole game and not throw a pass and score 5 touchdowns. Like I mean, I really do. Like that's not even really being goofy. Like they really might be able to do that, and that just I think it's just a bad matchup for USC. They don't play physically. They don't tackle well. They don't play defense really in any level. And Michigan's going to be able to run the ball and you don't have Caleb Williams. I mean, like that's a lot. That's a lot to deal with a team like Michigan when you lose a superstar playmaker quarterback and you don't really stop the run very well. And I just think Michigan will be too much for them to handle in that game. And it's in Ann Arbor. You know, that's a long trip. That's a long trip coming from LA. So that does help. So yeah, I would take Michigan in that one. That's another one of the 5 though. I mean, USC, that's a lot of talent. That's Lincoln Riley. The quarterback's going to throw it all over. But I do think Michigan's defense will be up to the task, and the Trojans will not be.
That's 2 polar opposite styles when you talk about Michigan's football program and USC. The only 2 more polar opposites I could think of is USC and Iowa, because USC doesn't play defense and Iowa doesn't know what offense is. And so to me, those are the only 2 more polar opposites you could find. And unfortunately, they don't play this year. I would have wanted to watch that game. All right, next up, you got Minnesota again in Ann Arbor. A lot of early home games this year. Will Minnesota row the boat? Or will Michigan lay the smack down? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I've got Michigan in that one. I mean, it's, you know, my opinion on PJ Fleck has changed so much over the years. Like, you know, when he was coming up, I'm like, oh, that's the up and coming young guy. And now I just feel like his shtick is kind of just played. I'm like, dude, enough of the, you know, he signs off every interview with like 7 taglines, and he just, I don't know, something about him irks me now that didn't before. Like, you know, I went to Central Michigan University, so I loved what he did for the MAC, and when he was at Western, I just loved that idea, and he's kind of climbed the ladder a little bit, but now I'm just kind of like, just stop being that way. But he's a good coach, but it's still Minnesota. Yeah, just stop it. Tone it down a little bit, man.
That's funny.
But it's still Minnesota. They just don't have enough talent, I don't think, and it's in Ann Arbor, like you said. Yeah, that's Michigan.
Let me ask you this question before we go on to the Washington game. Do you think another coach could get more out of his players, more wins out of a Minnesota football program than PJ Fleck is doing right now? Obviously, coaches could do worse or about the same. Do you think there's realistically somebody who would stay there long-term like he appears to be doing and get more out of the program?
I don't know. I think he's a pretty good coach. I mean, he's certainly a motivator. I wonder, you know, I mean, we just see the snippets, the 30 seconds after a game, and the, you know, if you go to Big Ten media days, you see him for 30 minutes or something like that. But we don't see the ins and outs every day of what he's doing in the locker room and with those guys. And there's probably some players who are like saying what I'm like, enough, coach. Like, can we just, but I think it probably works pretty well. I mean, he's had success and I think he is a good coach, but it's Minnesota, man. They haven't been good since like the 30s or, whatever, back when they were one of the powerhouses. It's a tough place to recruit. I don't know how well he's embraced NIL or how that works up there, but I do think that's a tough place to win at a high level. And I think he's done a pretty good job.
Don't wait for Lincoln's fireworks stands to open up. Get the good stuff at Roca Crazy Cracker in downtown Roca. Stop in from June 26th through July 4th for the hot spot for rockets and more this Independence Day. Open 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. every day. Roca Crazy Cracker Fireworks in downtown Roca.
Hi, Sean Callahan here for Coppell Chevrolet GMC. And right now they are offering huge, and I mean huge discounts at Coppell. Get over $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing on select Sierras or Silverados. Plus, Costco members receive another $1,000 off. Yes, that's happening right now in Louisville. $9,000 off list price or 1.9% financing. You pick what works for you. Costco members, please contact us at the store or at CoppellCars.com. All deals with approved credit must trade and finance.
Nights caused by crawling critters or flapping wings. Bats to Rats ensures a safe environment for every family member. Check the website at batstoRats.com for amazing offers. And if you mention this ad, you'll receive $10 off your initial inspection cost. Call Bats to Rats today at 402-781-8691. That's 402-781-8691. Bats to Rats. Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
At Parkview Animal Hospital in Lincoln, it's not just the professional care that sets them apart, but their warm staff and state-of-the-art facilities. Whether it's for a routine checkup or a comprehensive medical procedure, at Parkview, your pet isn't just another number, but a valued member of their caring family. Visit them at pahlincoln.com today and in person just south of 14th and Pine Lake Road. Parkview Animal Hospital, your pet, our passion. For happier, healthier furry friends.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning now in our new time. We're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Summertime is here, and so is another action-packed baseball season with the Lincoln Salt Dogs. Bring your whole crew to Haymarket Park to experience the magic under the lights and the thrill of the game. Enjoy daily specials like Wiener Wednesday, Thirsty Thursday, Fireworks Friday, and Family Fun Day Sunday, plus special events and discounts. Don't miss out on the excitement.
Strike three, you're out!
Visit saltdogs.com to see this week's promotions and secure your tickets to unleash the fun.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today. We see a chance of showers and storms throughout the day. Otherwise, mostly cloudy with the high around 86. Tonight, showers and thunderstorms are likely with the low around 69. And tomorrow, continued chance of showers and storms. Otherwise, mainly sunny with the high around 91. I'm meteorologist Kyle Cutter from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you. Your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at MidwestBank.com. Member FDIC.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeited. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket. The weather is hot, the kids are out of school, and you're on your way to the lake and summer road trips. Are you getting to your vacation spot comfortably, or is your car letting you down? Mullen Motors Lot is full of great vehicles to take home, so you don't have to worry about your current car barely surviving another road trip. Come check out their lot just north of 48th and Layton and find your next ride for summer road trips and beyond. Mullen Motors.
No tag-ons, just quality vehicles. Mullen Motors.
For over 15 years, Integrated Life Choices has empowered individuals with disabilities in Lincoln and throughout Nebraska. They provide comprehensive services from group homes and independent living services to job training, ensuring fulfilling lives for those that they serve. Now, they're inviting you to join their mission. If you are passionate about making a difference in the lives of people with developmental disabilities, explore rewarding career opportunities with them. Learn more about their services and apply today at www.ilc.net. Be a part of Integrated Life Choices, where your work truly changes lives. Are you looking to get into the electrical construction industry or wanting a new scene? The Electrical Workers of Local Union 265 are now hiring licensed journeymen and apprentices and are offering great pay and benefits. Call Mike at 402-875-1034 to apply. Start your electrical career today.
You're listening to Adam Carricker on The Ticket on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Yeah, it's funny. People forget that Minnesota actually won like 3 national championships in the 1930s, but man, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, a long time ago.
Next up, and this is a game that I think Washington's going to have a tough year. Obviously losing so much. They lost their head coach, their quarterback, even their athletic director. Thank you very much in Nebraska. They lost more players. Okay, of their 22 starters, they lost 20. Okay, they only have 2 players returning. Yeah, and several of them transferred out. Okay, someone went to the NFL, obviously, but several of them transferred out. So the only team in the Big Ten that's lost more starters and more production from last year off their roster that's coming back this year is Washington. Okay. Washington ranks 18th in returning production in returning production in the Big Ten, because numbers don't matter anymore when you're describing a conference and coming up with his name. But Michigan is 17th in returning production. So I think Washington's going to have a tough year. I think by all rights, Michigan should clearly be the better team. But there's a little bit of a rivalry from years gone by between Washington and Michigan to begin with. Some Rose Bowls, some regular season matchups they've had here and there over the years. I think they're going to want revenge for the national championship. I've been in Husky Stadium. It is beautiful. It is loud. I think Michigan wins, but I think this game is close, interesting, and entertaining for about 2.5 quarters, and then Michigan just starts to push them around that last quarter and a half. What do you think?
That's pretty much exactly what I see. I mean, I didn't know it was 20 of 22. I knew they lost a lot, all their outside weapons. Obviously, Michael Penix, a coaching change. They're dealing with a lot like Michigan is, I think, but not as sound on defense. And when you lose so much high level production, and that's what they thrived on. And Michigan was able to handle it in the national championship game, and now they don't even have it. I think that's a lot to overcome. I'm with you. The trip out west, again, Michigan going to Seattle is tough. That's, historically, you can look back. Michigan has not done well when they have to go to the West Coast. So, I mean, like, that's a game they absolutely have to be on their game. But I do think Michigan is more physical. We'll be able to push them around a little bit on offense, running the ball. And I think the defense, again, will be really good. And if they could stop last year's offense, I think this year's defense can do the same, even though it is going to be in that stadium, which is about as picturesque as you can get for a football game. And that is the weird. I just hearing you say it, there's 18 teams in the Big Ten. Like, what the heck? That sounds insane. When you said like they rank 18th, I'm like, no, that can't be right. And I'm like, no, there really are 18 teams. Wow. All right. So 17th and 18th for returning production. Yeah, they're in a similar boat, but I think Michigan's got a little more.
Dude, accuracy and numbers haven't mattered since Penn State joined the Big Ten in '94, and they went from 10 to 11 teams, but didn't change the name. And then Nebraska left the Big 12, and they went to 10 teams, but they were still the Big 12. It doesn't matter. I mean, and then the Big 12, they're like going to sell off the naming rights to the conference to bring in more money to try to compete. And I actually don't even blame them. If you're trying to keep up in some way, shape, or form with the Big Ten and SEC monetarily.
What's the Pac-12 these days? There's 2 teams. What are they even doing?
I don't know. They're off in La La Land right now, to be honest with you.
18. I didn't even sound right when you said it, but I'm like, yeah, that's it.
It's crazy. All right. So we got Illinois. All right. I'm going to assume you're going to pick Illinois. We don't have to spend a bunch of time on here, but what are your quick thoughts on Illinois?
Yeah, Michigan, these are just the 5-game schedule, and you just hope that there's no stumbles along these, I mean, you look back and, Lloyd Carr, he's a legend, but he had, you can't spell Lloyd without 2 L's. That was the thing for a long time. And
I've never heard that.
Yeah. It sucks that it happens that way sometimes. And you just hope that Michigan is not going to trip up on these games that they should win. I mean, everybody outside of the 5 that we'll eventually get to, Michigan should beat. And you just got to take care of business and win. And that's Illinois. So yeah, that's a Michigan win.
Now, I'm curious. I'm going to assume not, but it's such a big in-state rivalry, at least Michigan State towards Michigan. But do you have Michigan State, their next opponent, as one of those 5 games or no?
Let me see. I
USC,
don't think
Texas.
so. USC, Texas, Washington. Not yet. I mean, there were a lot of years where Michigan State on paper, you'd look like Michigan's winning that game by a lot. And they didn't. Sometimes they'd lose. It'd be close. It didn't really matter where it was played at. But Michigan went into East Lansing last year and won 49-0. And it could have been way worse than that. And Michigan State is now rebuilding, new coach, new young quarterback that hasn't played very much. There's not a lot of talent on that team. Yeah, Michigan's that's going to be too much for him in Ann Arbor. There's no way that game should be close. That's what I think.
I'm curious to see what Jonathan Smith, the new Michigan State head coach, can do. I mean, it speaks so strongly. He was a quarterback there at Oregon State in 2000, the best year they ever had. They finished as the number 4 team in the country, destroyed Notre Dame, who was number 9 in the country in the Fiesta Bowl, beat them 41-9. They had Ocho Cinco, TJ Hushmanzada. Jonathan Smith was the quarterback. Ken Simonton was the running back. And so he was a quarterback there. Then they're just awful for years. He comes in, he builds them back up. They're a really good team. They're on the rise, and all heck breaks loose, and the Pac-12 no longer exists. And then he leaves his alma mater to go coach at Michigan State. I think this dude's a really good football coach.
This is Lincoln's home for sports talk on the FM dial. Also online at theticketfm.com. On the internet, KNTK FM Firth, 93.7 The Ticket.
I love Corvallis, Oregon. I have ridden the sand dunes on the beaches of Oregon several times in my life, but anybody who can win in Corvallis, Oregon, with all due respect, is a good football coach. So it's going to take him some time, but I am curious to see what he can do at Michigan State. All right, man, this game has to be on your list of top 5 games for Michigan. You got Oregon, the Mighty Ducks, coming into Ann Arbor. What are your thoughts?
This one has been giving me some anxiety because I think when I said this was a win for Michigan, I didn't know as much about Oregon as I needed to. That's kind really of my good. Yeah, that's kind of my stance now. I had this as a Michigan win because it was at home. I don't know, man. I don't know. Like that, Dylan Gabriel, I kind of forgot he was even there. And I'm like, God, he's really good. He's played a ton of football, like more than probably every starter on Michigan's offensive roster this year. He's played like
fair point.
He's played so much.
Yep.
He's played so much. And they've got weapons, and they're starting to put there are a lot of people's pick to win the Big Ten. I mean, that's telling in itself. I might have to go back on my win total here because this was a win for me throughout this year as I've looked at the schedule. But the more that I've started to look at Oregon and learn about their roster, and there's again Dan Lanning, built a thing there. They're just starting to put together some continuity that really is valuable in college football. So I think I'm getting to 3 losses live here on the show as we're talking, because that one is tough. The fact that it's in Ann Arbor helps. It's a little further into the season. Hopefully by that point the offense is clicking a little bit, but Oregon's probably better than Michigan. I'll say it quietly, but I think that one could end up being a loss.
So I do have Michigan 9-3 on the season. I do have Texas and Oregon, and a game yet to be talked about from that team down south.
Yeah.
It's probably the 3 losses. So on paper, in my humble opinion, there's clearly 2 best teams on paper and clearly 4 best teams on paper. Now we're going to kick that ball off here in about a month or 2, and all heck's going to break loose, which is what I love about college football. But on paper, to me, the 2 best teams, however you want to rank them, 1 and 2, Georgia, Ohio State, Georgia. 3, 4, Texas, Oregon, Texas. Oregon, I loved watching them. Yeah, I loved watching them growing up, but I always said they were too fast. And then I pause and wait for people to look at me like I'm crazy because nobody ever says anybody's too fast. Under Chip Kelly, I said they were too fast because they were too small. Because anytime they would play somebody with speed and size, they'd end up getting pushed around. That's not the Oregon that we see now. Dan Lanning has big physical offensive linemen. He's got big physical defensive linemen. They actually have a defense now at Oregon. They had 21 of the best players in America. And then they went and got Dylan Gabriel. And that's all they were missing. I think it's them and Ohio State in a rematch in the Big Ten championship game. But I do think, and I think Ohio State probably wins as we sit here in June. And we haven't even seen the first matchup or anything really. But this is fun talk for the summer as they build my pool. And but I digress. My point is simply this. I think Oregon, like when they would play Ohio State or they'd play Auburn in that national championship game. And obviously Cam Newton was a phenom that year. But I think about when they would play really good teams, they were just too small. That is not the case anymore. Michigan's probably, I'm not going to sit here and say that Oregon's going to be more physical than Michigan or can even match them. But this may be one of the few times in the history of college football where Oregon will be right there, like maybe just a notch or smidge below Michigan when it comes to physicality. I just think they have too many other things Michigan doesn't right now. All right, my man, next on the schedule, and we can go quickly if you want. We've got Indiana and we've got Northwestern as your next 2 games. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, those are pretty bad teams. Northwestern was not good last year, but better than I think a lot of people thought.
Yes, they were.
The head coach's name escapes me, but he impressed me last year. I remember sitting at Big Ten Media Days and hearing him talk and all the, Pat Fitzgerald was out and all the stuff that was going on and the hazing and all just the weirdness. And I'm like, that team's not going to win a game. And they won several games actually. And, put up a fight in some other ones where they probably had no business doing that. But Michigan will beat both of those teams. That's the bottom of the Big Ten for the time being. And they're both going through a little bit of a rebuild and trying to figure some things out. So yeah, that's 2 wins for Michigan.
They may be the 2 worst teams in the Big Ten. David Braun is the Northwestern coach.
There you go.
I mean, kudos to him. 8-5 last year. The year before that, they were 1-11. And then crap hits the fan like no other. He all of a sudden becomes the head coach. Pat Fitzgerald, who was a legend at the time in Northwestern football as a player, starting linebacker. The last time they went to the Rose Bowl, I think that was 93. They played USC, Keyshawn Johnson. And then the winningest coach they've ever had there. And just a legend. He's gone. Now you're just kind of thrust in. And this was a 1-11 team. And now you're probably not going to win a game. Oh, wait, we're 8-5. And now he's
unreal.
The reigning Big Ten coach of the year. That being said, Michigan smashes. Okay, in my humble opinion.
I remember just thinking while he's on the podium, I'm like, this is a dead man. This is the worst situation you could want. And I didn't even 8-5. I didn't know. I thought it was like 6. I'm like, I think they got bowl eligible. What a job. Yeah, 8-5 is incredible for that situation.
All right, man. The game, Ohio State. All right, you got to go into Columbus this upcoming fall. Michigan at Ohio State. What are your thoughts there?
Ohio State's really, really, really good on paper, but they've been really good on paper for ever. And Michigan has now won 3 games in a row against them. I do have that one as a loss this year. It's in Columbus. I think they're just so loaded. I mean, they went out and they basically got sick of losing to Michigan. They're like, we're gonna go get this guy and that guy and this guy and that guy and this guy in the portal, and we're still gonna recruit really well because we always have. And $13 million and Ryan Day's talking money, and they don't care. They're just give us the best guys. That's what we need. We got to win this year. Ryan Day hasn't slept in 3 years. Like that. That's what they got to do. And I think they put together a roster that's good enough. because of what Michigan, it's just as much about what Michigan's going through and dealing with as it is Ohio State, in my opinion. It's the last game of the year. They'll have 11 games under their belt by that point, and that certainly will help. But Michigan is turning over a ton, like we talked about. And so I just think in Columbus, all the talent. I don't love the transfer quarterback. I will say that. I'm not a big fan of Will Howard. But Michigan's got a big question mark at quarterback, too. I kind of look at that. Here's the 3 losses. Who's got the better quarterback between Michigan and Texas? Who's got the better quarterback between Michigan and Oregon. Ohio State, I don't know if you can give the edge to Will Howard. He's played more, but I think he's at least even maybe with what Michigan might have, and then the rest of the roster is just really, really good. I don't know. Maybe Michigan's running for 400 yards a game by week 12, and if that's the case, then they might be able to pound it out again in Columbus. But as of right now, it pains me with your big red background on your show here that it's probably Ohio State this year.
Yeah, it's interesting. You pointed out the biggest question mark for the Ohio State Buckeyes is the quarterback position. All right, this is the guy who beat out another guy who was the starter, to take the starting job for him. And then he lost in Will Howard his starting job to a freshman, essentially, at Kansas State. And then he comes to Ohio State. Now, I'm actually excited to see what Chip Kelly can do with Will Howard. He can use his legs. There's talent all over the place. They got the most talented running back combination duo in the entire country. I wonder if he goes a little bit more up tempo, a little bit more read option. Do we start to see a little bit more of what he used to do at Oregon, or am I just buku crazy? I don't know. I'm just curious to see what's going to happen, because you have potentially the best 21 players in America with a gigantic question mark at the quarterback position. Not saying he can't do it. It's just a gigantic question mark. So I'm curious to see what happened. I do think, oddly enough, and Michigan fans are going to hate me for this, but I think Michigan could be great inspiration for Ohio State this year, because Michigan had so many people come back last year to win a championship. Ohio State, guys like Emeka Ibuka, 8 starters on that phenomenal defense. That's an NFL defense over there. Those guys could have all gone. They came back to win a championship, and it's eerily similar to what Michigan did the year before to me, as much as I know that's going to make Buckeye fans puke and Wolverine fans puke. I got Ohio State winning this. Okay, man, who you got in the Big Ten championship game?
Yeah, it sounds like it sounds like Oregon, Ohio State. They feel like the 2 best teams talent wise. You gotta love again, Dylan Gabriel at quarterback for Oregon is so big. It's so big. They had so much continuity over the last couple of years with Bo Nix, and now you get another guy who's got 1,000 snaps or whatever under his belt. So that's big.
Who do you got winning it?
I don't even want to say it. I really don't, but I think it's Ohio State. I think they get back to their winning ways this year. I do. That roster. You hear. I just don't think guys like Urban Meyer and these other dudes who have seen everything there is to see, they don't need to speak in hyperbole and say that's the most talented locker room I've ever seen. They don't need to say those things. And a lot of them are saying that about Ohio State. And when you look at the roster on paper, the names that they've gotten, it's a lot to handle. And Michigan people will be like, I always knew he was a hater. I knew he was going to pick Ohio State, but I'm just trying to call it like it is on June 26th, and that's how I see it.
So here's what I'm not going to do, because my next question was going to be, if there's a Big Ten team to win the national championship, who's it going to be? I'm not going to put you in the position. I don't know what your answer. I'm not going to put you in the position to have to say Ohio State again. So I'm going to change the question to this: 12-team playoff. How many Big Ten teams do you think get into the playoff?
Man, I would like to look at. I need a board. I need a schedule board right here. But
so Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State, Michigan, USC, Wisconsin, Iowa, probably the top contenders.
I think Ohio State, Oregon are in.
Okay.
If Michigan goes 9-3, that's going to be tough. But if your 3 losses are to maybe the 1, 2, and 3 seeds,
I think
however that shakes out.
Yeah,
I think last year there was a cutoff right at 10-2, 9-3, and you had some jockeying that could have happened there. If Michigan goes 9-3 with that schedule and your 3 losses are Texas, Oregon, OSU, that's
I think they get in.
That's close. And then Penn State, I need to take a deeper dive into what they're doing, but they're supposed to be good this year. They've got their big quarterback coming back, Drew Aller. I've always kind of thought James Franklin just quite didn't. I don't know. there's something weird about James Franklin where he just can't quite get it done. But I would say, I would say those 4: Oregon, OSU, Michigan, Penn State. I don't think you mentioned Iowa. They're not going to be good enough on offense. Wisconsin, I think, is kind of in a similar boat. I would say those 4. If it's not, and if it's not Michigan, it might just be 3. However that shakes out, 12 teams is going to be really fun to see how it looks. And a 9-3 Michigan team with losses against those 3. I don't know if you could call them locks, but they feel pretty darn close. Texas, Oregon, and Ohio State. That's a pretty strong resume.
The only team, I agree with you. And what Penn State's done for the past 6 seasons would make them a playoff team.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
And they're going to be as talented or more talented than they've been in any of those seasons this year. So, especially with adding Julian Fleming, and it's his chance to try to break out if he's going to. Drew Eller's year, an opportunity to bounce back. So, I do think them. I do think of Michigan's 9-3. If the Big Ten, and this is crazy because the 4 power conferences, there are really 2, but if they all get a conference champion, okay, that's 4. You got the G5 best team, that's 5. If the SEC were to get, let's say, 4 teams in or 5 teams in, which they're talking about, which could be possible, that would put them up to 9, which would leave 3 additional spots for the Big Ten on top of their Big Ten champ. And there's your 4 teams that we talked about. Okay. So, hey, man, I appreciate you joining me. This has been fun. Let's do it again in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Penn State goes 11-1, by the way. I just looked their schedule. Ohio State's probably their only loss that you could see, and that's at home. So, yeah, Penn State, pencil them in. There you go.
All right. I appreciate you joining me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. I've been Adam Carricker. He's been Brandon Brown. Have a great day.
Are you or someone you love struggling with substance use? The Bridge Behavioral Health in Lincoln offers outpatient therapy for those 19 and